Okay, so here we are today with Professor Erik De Haan, and we're going to be discussing Masterclass 3, which is understanding the coaching impact and making the case for executive coaching. So Erik, great to be talking to you again. I know we've been running through a number of these videos in this last hour, which is great. So hopefully we're going to be in flow state for this one. So understanding the impact of coaching and then making the case for executive coaching. Give us the context. What's the context for this one? Because I believe you've got a new book coming out in 2020.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the book.
And this workshop is towards the end of the year, I think. So I hope to bring the book along to the workshop.
Brilliant.
When it's ready. And it's the book is going to be a summary of all the quantitative research, the serious research that has been done in a statistical way about coaching. So it's about collecting just endpoint data about, or sometimes mid time points as well, about how effective has this coaching been, or what have you achieved, and then collecting that for hundreds of clients, maybe thousands, and sometimes you have a so-called meta-analysis where all these studies are put together, and we have those now also in the profession. And so it's a book that summarizes the findings, and these are all general findings. So nothing about what happens inside the conversations, like those critical moments. There's nothing about that because it's only one number after doing all the work. So it's just can we demonstrate a difference? Can we demonstrate a return on our investments maybe? So does it really make sense? Would this person have been where they are now without the coaching, or is the coaching really a critical element in their development? That's the kind of question that we're asking.
Wonderful. And one of the things that I'm learning about you today, Erik, is you bring that sort of mathematical, scientific mind to everything you do in coaching, which I think is much needed, especially when we think about return on investment and bringing that quantitative data in there and looking for patterns. So yes. What's some of the insights that you can share that are going to come out in the book that people can buy? But what's some of the insights that we're going to be using in this masterclass from the research that you've done?
Yeah, so you're right, Darren. We're looking for patterns in that as well. So it's crucial to know, does it make a difference? I think that's what buyers would want to know, and coaching, because it's quite limited in terms of the time investment, and it's always with the same person in a kind of regular, structured way. It lends itself very much for good statistical research, because it's almost like a lab where things happen, and you can measure out of the box, what's the difference then of this coaching relationship. So it lends itself very well. You try to demonstrate that it works, or demonstrate that it really doesn't work, and then when you do that, then you can also look into some patterns. And they're still general patterns, but you can ask questions like, okay, which clients benefit the most? Or if there is this kind of benefit, what does it look like? What does it, do they change? And that's fascinating. That's one example. Do they perhaps change their personality? Well, nobody would think so, because it's a short investment, and personality is seen as something very stable over your whole lifetime. But I think we're finding in some of the very latest research that coaching does help change to your personality, because we've done questionnaires before, questionnaires measuring up personality types, and then after, and we see some relevant changes there.
Fascinating.
So that's a pattern that may come out of this.
And so what's some of the learning outcomes, some of the collaborative conversations that we're going to be having in Masterclass 3 with the participants?
Yeah, well, I believe that once we have research, and we're beginning to get that in this field, then we can, of course, adapt our training and development of coaches to what the research says about coaching, that what makes it effective and so on. So I think in the masterclass we should have a look at, how can we as coaches, and we're all qualified and experienced, but how can we adapt our interventions in such a way that we make use of these patterns of effectiveness, so that we actually help the clients with the things that they can actually get from the coaching, such as those personality changes. And they're not huge, of course, and they're not across the board, but there are some patterns. So patterns of emotional volatility, for example, so up and down mood changes and things, they seem to dampen a little bit and soften, and also responsibility taking, so being conscientious, seems to kind of be influenced by coaching. So if that's the case, how can we work towards that? And how can we maybe contract more explicitly with our clients that is the kind of service we might, or that's the kind of help we might offer? So those kinds of things. And of course in a very interactive way, that we practice maybe some of those things.
Yeah, and you offered a small crumb there, you mentioned it, so I'm going to have to ask it because it's one of the big questions in executive coaching and leadership coaching. So, has your book explored return on investment?
Return on investment is an ironical one. So the earliest research in coaching was into return on investment, and there was no control group, there was no randomization, so it wasn't done in the proper clinical way of doing research. So they found, you may remember that, they found these incredible returns.
I remember that, yeah, absolutely.
700%, 800%.
I think it was 8,000, wasn't it, percent?
At some point.
Yeah, I think, definitely.
So if you were the central bank, for example, you would put all your money of the country, you'd put that all in coaching, because you get 800% return within 6 months.
Yeah.
Amazing. But of course it was all based on what the leaders, what the executives, the managers, what they said about how much better their decisions had become.
Sure.
So let's say they were in a manufacturing plant, they were leading the manufacturing plant, and then the question was, as a result of coaching, how much money have you made for the plant? How much better decisions have you made? And it was just their estimate. So they were generally very satisfied with the coaching, as clients tend to be. So that's not even general satisfaction. It's not a proof of effectiveness. No. It just means that to get the attention, to get a coach, you feel good about that. You feel good about being able to talk through things and think about them. It doesn't mean that you're changing. That has to be measured in very different ways. Yeah. But these managers said, oh yes, it was really good, it was really great, and I made so much better decisions for the factory. We probably made a couple of million last year, and that's how they got to the 800%.
Yeah. So the types of leader coaches and coaches that are going to be interested in coming on this masterclass, what are some of the characteristics you think of those people?
I hope they're interested. We'll make it fun, we'll make it easy, but I hope they'll be interested in research as well. So I'd like some curiosity in terms of clinical research with randomized control trials. What could that bring me?
Yeah.
And I'll try to give headline summaries and so on, and some articles that I can read. The evidence behind that. Yeah. But I'd hope they're interested in that aspect of their work. Not everyone is, I suppose.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Thank you, Erik. So I think hopefully you're hearing on Masterclass 3, this is going to be about people that really want to look at the quantitative and qualitative aspects of coaching. They really want to understand the impact of coaching and might be in a position where they're influencing senior leaders to actually invest in coaching. I think this is going to be a great exploration of the research that Erik's done. As you've hopefully heard, Erik has got an amazing mind for data and research. He brings it together, the quantitative aspects and the qualitative aspects. And I think that will really start to help us to understand what is the return on investment. What is the return on engagement? What is the return on coaching? So hopefully people that are interested in deep diving on that and having conversations, philosophical conversations about it, but also practitioner conversations will be hopefully attracted to this masterclass.